Albert Camus, a great philosopher, and sort of like the founder of whatever you call the concept of absurdism or the philosophy of absurdism. There are humans, there are we, and we have this constant need of meaning, of law, of order, and life doesn't give you one. There's no inherent meaning or inherent law or order to this world. It's just something created by us to make this world seem more familiar to us. And this is contradictory connection between two of this, that human wants a proper kind of order, law, and meaning, and life doesn't give you one. This creates a very contradictory connection, which Albert Camus calls the absurdism of life, the absurdity of life. Whatever your meaning is, and there is no meaning to life. So then what do? You find happiness, you find sorrowness in world. Absurdity. It's a weird connection. That is why it's called absurdity. The reason why we are talking about absurdity and Albert Camus is because the question that arises in my head is that destination, is it everything? Your final goal, or the car you want, the money you want, the bike you want, the house you want, is it everything? Is your goals everything in your life? And does purpose even matter at that point? Because come on, Aryan, be practical. I need that money. I need that car. Simple, done. I don't give about this bullshit that, I have a materialistic dependence or XYZ. Then let me count you a few things. Okay. Let me count on a few things that might go wrong. One, you have heavy emotional dependence onto a materialistic object which might be achieved, which might not be achieved. We'll talk about that later. Another point which becomes essential is that this entire journey sort of becomes vague. When you have entire dependence on the final goal, then what are you, just running blindly? What are you, like a robot or something? Or you are human? You have no feelings regarding the journey, regarding the things that you have to do. Third thing, it jeopardizes the current moment. When you constantly think about the longer things that you have to achieve, let's say in 5 years or 10 years, and you are just every day waking up and thinking about it, you would jeopardize your current movements. You would not move like how you would move if you were completely driven by a purpose. And the reason why it differs is so much because your entire dependence, you just wake up and you don't feel like yourself. Why? Because yourself is actually having that car or having that house. And if you don't have one, you don't feel like the best version of you. I know it might seem ridiculous, but yeah, this happens. This happens very subtly. This happens very subconsciously, unconsciously. This is not a decision that you make consciously. But what I'm trying to say is, it is sort of like I'm not the person I want to be feeling every day. Instead of I am the person I want to be, I am growing as a person that I want to become in future. And this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I love my current situation. And this is how I will achieve my next situation in next XYZ years. Now, the thing about emotional connection I talked about, okay? So many times when people fall in love, they have that sort of emotional dependence that I will ever be loved, then it will be through this person, okay? And you give your entire emotional dependence, emotional vulnerability to a particular person, to a human. Now, let's say that human walks out of your life, that human rejects you, that something happens and that human is completely gone away from your life, then that void of who will make me feel loved is gone. Now there's no one in this world to make you feel loved. And so usually after breakups, there are two paths humans go on. The first is a very temporary path, okay? Maybe temporary path, which is a sort of a void. What do? I don't feel loved. I don't feel happy in this world because I don't feel loved. There's no love for me because someone who was your role model of love just walked out of your life. So there's no love in your life. There's no human connection that you will ever feel like that again. And so human would either switch the paths. Okay. So let's say now you feel loved or now you feel that validation in your life through money, through status, through achieving bigger things. And this is what usually happens, or you see in the movies, or you see even in real life, which happens is after a breakup, a man suddenly changes his entire aura and he just glows up and he's like the best guy and he's like driving in Ferraris and wearing suits and going to $1 billion meetings, right? Well, that happens because of your emotional connection just completely eradicating from your life. But the other way, the worst way that your life can go to after that breakup or whatever, of that void, is that you completely stay in that void and you never let that void get filled. The one thing is you get adapted, and the other thing is that you get more rigid and rigid day by day. Now, the problem with rigidity is it gets you into a different realm of life, which is sort of like the dark realm of life, like alcohol, drugs, cigarettes. Okay, staying lonely, staying like a fucking serial killer. You know the life I'm trying to say. Okay, you have seen those depressed guys after breakup, right? And this is okay if it's a temporary situation that you are trying to cope up with your life. You're trying to cope up with those feelings that will never be achieved again the way you wanted them. And that's why I say the emotional dependence on goals is really bad, because a sort of feeling that I'll feel super happy, excited only if I have this car. Let's say you never have that car in your life. Let's say you were never able to make the money to achieve that car or to have that car. Then who is going to fulfill that void of being super happy, excited? No one. And so it's good if you switch later on, but if you stay rigid, your life would be a mess, because there would be nothing in your life other than that car. Life would be soulless, meaningless. It would be just moving more and more sorrowness in your life. Nothing to be happy of, nothing to be worth it in your life then, because you have depended completely on a car. And that's why I say it might feel cool and it might feel practical to just get that money, to just get that car, to just get your house. But if you don't have a purpose, one, you won't be able to achieve it because you won't be able to continue that journey for an year or two. Secondly, even if you achieve that thing, you would have to move on to something else. You would have to go for that next goal because you won't feel satisfied in that. You won't feel content in that. You won't feel happy in that. Because why? Your journey was like a fucking 100-meter run instead of a marathon, a beautiful marathon. There are two paths. Okay, as a biker, let me ask you something. If you have to move on a straightforward highway for 2 or 3 hours, would that be blissful? Or to move for 8 hours through a beautiful mountain track with your bike, with your music, beautiful music blasting in your ears, would you love that, or would you love to go on a meaningless highway, which would make your journey seem lesser, but then your life still seems so like ridiculous that from one place you'll move to another place through highway, another place through highway. You are not just leaving, you are just a fucking robot. Where's the happiness? Where's the good delightment of your life? Nowhere. Where are the human connections, the emotional bonds, the memories, whatever XYZ things are, where are they? You are just randomly moving through life. And that too for a goal which is materialistic, which even after achieving, you don't know how happy you would feel. You still don't know. Okay. After getting that girl in your life, let's say that girl gets in a relation with you. Okay. Or somehow you marry her. Okay. What's the percentage that the way you imagined her to love you, she will love you that way? You know what I'm saying? You imagine a person in such a way in your head, and let's say if the person is not like how you imagine, what would that correlate to? How would that end up? That same connects to your goals and to your destination. If you get to that destination and the destination is not as you expected. Okay, so let's create two conditions. One where you are just moving for the destination. You wake up every day and see that bike, and I'm like, I want that bike, I want that bike, I want that bike. Okay, and another thing is, I want to be a human that rides that bike. I want to be a person who's in good shape, who's in blah blah blah, and overall become a greater version of myself by working on myself, by growing the business, by growing the amount of investments I have, and then eventually after I reach to a certain level, I'll back that bike. Simple. That bike is a goal. But I don't every day wake up and just think, I want that bike, I want that bike. I feel incomplete if I don't have that bike. It's ridiculous. Your life just would completely seem puzzled up and completely chaotic in this way. But let's see, if I have a purpose, if I'm moving towards, like, I want to make people's life better by solving this one problem and maybe having some profits through it, and then I want to have these beautiful things with my profits. Okay, whatever I make money, I would invest a bit and then I would have these things. Seems like a more practical answer now, right? Well, the problem with destination, I'm again and again coming to the point, it is one, soulless. And I'm not a soul guy, but what I'm trying to say, it's heartless. There's no emotion to it. There's no beautiful things in it. And as much as wrong I seem, there's hard work. Don't get me wrong with beautifulness and hard work, right? The thing I'm saying is, You are going to ride that bike for 8 hours. That is going to be even more harder. That's going to require even more discipline on that beautiful path. But the issue is, it is a beautiful path. Instead of moving soullessly, instead of moving heartlessly on a highway for 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? And so, as much as ridiculous and impractical this entire idea might seem to you right now, I promise you, in the end, the journey is the only thing that would matter. Because this way, if you just go from destination to destination, goals from goals, your entire life would just revolve around what's the next purpose or what's the next goal in your life. You would not have that inherent meaning in your life, which life wouldn't provide you. You will have to go look for it, and you will not just have to go look for it, plus you will have to follow it, and third, you'll have to find happiness within it. And this is very, very different to the masculinity BS you heard this day, like grind set and go into extreme regimes and follow you. And I have been there. I have been there. I've done those things. And where did I find peace? Just completely doing the things that I enjoy, completely doing the things that make me feel, yeah, I'm growing. Yeah, I'm completing or fulfilling that person even by 1% this day. Simple. And that is the way I move around for next 5 years. And then boom, I am a different person. I'm a new human being. And I have achieved all of those goals I had, all of those destinations I wanted to go through. I have been there. And this is how the life is supposed to mean. This is how you are supposed to find a meaning in that absurdity, find that happiness in that absurdity. Life isn't going to provide you one. And if you just completely depend yourself onto some materialistic bullshit, let's say you don't have that, your life becomes meaningless, your life becomes hopeless. If you have that, what's the guarantee that those goals would actually give you that certain level of emotional you have attached to it? Would I ever be extremely, superly, excitedly happy if I have that bike? Questionable. Yeah, I feel right now that I will be happy, but will I be happy if I have that bike? Well, that only if I'll know when I ride that bike. Unless and until I don't ride that bike, I'll never know if I'll be extremely, superly happy when I own that bike, then when I know. Okay, but if I enjoy that journey, then it doesn't matter to me whether I enjoy or not, because I don't have any emotional dependence on that bike. Okay, my emotional dependence on me and is in my control. The same goes with heartbreaks and what do I say, divorces, and whatever you have this sort of breakage in love. It is because of your complete emotional dependence onto someone. You create an image of that certain someone in your head, that this feeling would feel something like this. Okay, so this bike ride would feel something like this. But let's say that bike ride didn't feel like that. My handle was too shaky, my handle was too wobbly, the parts weren't good. I had to break down, and the brake seems weird, and then clutch position is something I had to get adaptable to. I don't know how to switch gears so quickly. I don't know what to do when there's something in between. There are multiple problems that would come. Same goes with life. You might think there's a beautiful girl, oh no, she's the angel. Once you get in relation, you have to know that humans have defects in them. Humans have some sort of way that they are, kind of influenced throughout their beginning of their life and throughout the childhood. And so they act in a certain way. And you might not know initially by just the look of it. When you go into relation, when you face different problems, that's when you know that. Will you deal with that? Or you are just there for that emotional dependence. If you don't have a meaning, if you don't essentially uh, have your emotional control in your own hands, then life would be meaningless. I say that again and again. So create a meaning which belongs to you, which makes you go through that journey again and again every day, and just forget about destination. Keep that destination maybe in front of you. I don't have anything against it, but yeah, if you are just moving for that goal, just moving for that destination, life would be ridiculous, life would be pointless, and that's not something you want. I promise. This is very different to all that Andrew Tate bullshit and all that motivational grind set, wake up every day at 6 and sleep every day at 12. I know this is ridiculous to what you are hearing, but after going through all that, this is what true self-help is. Thank you. To next video we talk about, and essentially tomorrow we talk about, is money the ultimate purpose? Can money be the ultimate purpose, or money is just a kind of commodity that you should have in your life, or maybe money is an important factor? Let's talk about that in tomorrow's video. And until that, remember, destination is not everything. Your purpose is everything. If you have a purpose good enough for your life would be different and you might achieve all of those destinations. But let's say you are completely dependent on destinations, then there's no point after you achieve those goals. What would you do after that? Life would seem meaningless. Even on the journey where you are trying to go through that destination, that journey would seem soulless. That journey would seem meaningless. And so, what essentially matters is your purpose, your meaning, which will not be provided by anyone. You will have to find out yourself. Thanks for watching. Bye.